Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Performance Cafe. It's fabulous to have you with us today as we wrap up our self-leadership series. It really has been an amazing journey to get through here, and I've learned a lot in preparing this for you, and it has been exceptional to bring to you some of the tips that I learn while I am coaching my clients and sharing those with you. So today, we're taking a look at the last bit of self-leadership and we're talking about failure and grit. And I sort of want to say last but not least, but I do hope that, when we get to the point where we feel failure, I do hope that it is kind of the end of a very long process and that we're not feeling failure early on in a process. So what am I talking about? Well, failure, and it's interesting because someone actually asked me about this the other day. They said, but I give up in the meanwhile, and I'll just go and do something else and I'll come back to my goal. I'll just it'll be too much. I'll need to take a break of a couple of days and then I'll come back. That is not failure. Failure is literally resignation, to give up entirely. And I think if we're talking about the kind of goals that we've been talking about around self-leadership, it's something that's going to hit your heart when you give up because you are intrinsically motivated to be doing this. This is part of who you are. It's part of your purpose. It's part of how you interact with the world. It's part of who you are, want to be. So it really is a situation of this is not coming back. It's not failure. It literally is just taking a little bit of a break. A friend of mine who's also a coach always says, you can't live in a state of negativity forever. So there is this point where if you just take a little bit of a break, you can come back and you can try again. That's not failure. That's actually, I think, a great form of self-compassion. So I think there's something to be said for failure in that best that we don't take too long to get there. I know I've just said that, it should be a fairly, it should be the last resort. But I think we should also understand that sometimes it's good to be so aware and so self-aware that when we are taking too long to reach a goal, when we are really battling, that we don't take too long to get to the point where we go, this is not working. Not that we need to fail, but at least we know if this is not working, what do I do in order to make it work? What's standing in my way? Who do I need? Remember in one of our previous episodes, we spoke about the ecosystem. What do I need to change or adjust in my ecosystem to make this possible? And I think for me, the ultimate expression of failure is when people say, I cannot do it because I cannot make it perfect. Right. So it's this point of just releasing it and going, I don't even care anymore. I have no interest in investing anything more in this. Now, Tal Ben-Shahar said, learn to fail or fail to learn. So I think the first thing that we must understand is that actually we need to reframe the picture somewhat. We come from, I think society very often wants to put us in a place where there's right, wrong, black, white. There's failure or success. Instead of taking a look at the fact that a lot of failure has success in it, a lot of success has failure in it. And we so often, I think also that failure is coming from a place, an external place, right? I'm expecting my mother or my father are going to be disappointed in me if I don't finish this exam, or if I don't get this degree, or if I don't get a job immediately after school, or if my team fails, I'm a failure. My management see me as a failure. I'm in the middle of this. And I think what we need to do is we need to find sometimes a different perspective. My favorite is, of course, Thomas Edison, who had a lot of failure in inventing the light bulb. And when he was asked about it, he said, well, I actually didn't fail that much. I just found 10,000 ways it wouldn't work. And I think he starts alluding to that perspective of how do we grow from failure? When I fail, I understand, I learn, I grow. And therefore, next time I'm less likely to fail because I've got more data, more information, more background to come from. So when we take a look at reframing, a lot of people will say, oh, but if you are reframing it, aren't we just burying the truth? And I think that there is something about reframing that we don't understand. And that is that reframing gives us a variety of perspectives. So reframing is not going to go, it's okay, you can be a failure, dear. It goes, okay, hold on, this failed. What didn't fail? How do I learn from this failure? What's good about this failure? I mean, in essence, if we can find the positive from the failure, then we are learning, we are growing. And of course, this comes back to one of my favorite concepts, and that is developing a growth mindset. Now, growth mindset, for those of you who don't know, is the belief in our ability to grow and change things for ourselves. So it implies that while we cannot control all of our experiences, we can control how we choose to react to them. And also that not only does it help us reframe failure, but it actually helps us understand how we can go beyond ourselves and beyond what we think is possible. Now, for those of you who know, my favorite word is yet. So when we get to the growth mindset, that's what Thomas Edison said, right? Until he found the right way to do it, he probably said, well, we just haven't found it yet. We still haven't found it yet. I don't have that degree yet. I don't have those skills yet. Doesn't mean I can't get the skills. Doesn't mean that I can't get to the success. Just not there yet. And growth mindset then says, okay, how do I make this happen? What do I take from this experience in order to move forward? And I think, when we take a look at reframing, there's also there's another part of between reframing and growth mindset. I think there's also just something that I alluded to earlier when I spoke about perfectionism and trying to make things perfect. I think that dealing with failure cannot happen unless we are able to have self-compassion. And that's when we treat ourselves with the same care, love, and respect that we would give to a struggling close friend. So, for example, you go and write a board exam and you don't make it, and you come back and you're like, well, you didn't work hard enough, you didn't try hard enough, you insisted on taking on a new project or taking on a promotion instead of doing blah, 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 blah. Some of you guys who know me very well now, I've got my self-talk's name is Tony, so that I can address him directly when I need him to keep quiet. But that negative self-talk doesn't help. It actually makes the situation worse, because what it does is it just reinforces all the negatives. But if you knew someone else who went through the same process, you'd go, but geez, you have had a rough time. You did have to take that, or you did take that promotion right at the same time. So things have been tight. Why is it that we'll always be compassionate to other people, but never to ourselves? So when we have that self-compassion, again, it's that little holiday that we can take and go, okay, this has happened. It is negative. It's not great. I'm not feeling happy about it. But the moment that we go to that place and we get rid of all that cortisol and adrenaline that's busy running that negative self-talk, then we can see what can I do about this? How can I change this? Well, one of the other ways of looking at it, which I really loved, and I learned this in the past week, is I'm reading the book from Dan Sullivan called The Gap, The Gain. And he speaks about the fact that we are forever taking a look at where we are, where we want to go, and that is our horizon. But it's part of human psychology that the closer we move towards the horizon, the more the horizon moves away. So actually, we are designed never to meet the horizon. So what we do is we stand here and we keep on going, but I'm not at the horizon, but we keep on changing it. He says, start where you are. And instead of focusing on the horizon, when you feel you're not making it, take a look at what have I gained? It might be an 8-step plan to get to the horizon. I've taken 6 steps. Now the horizon changes again, so now there's 2 extra, but that does not take away from those steps I've already taken. And then, of course, last but not least, we can't speak about grit without speaking about the work of Angela Duckworth. And she says grit is a combination of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. And she makes the point that actually there needs to be grit, that no matter how positively you frame a goal, there has to be this combination of, I need to keep going. I need to have the discipline. And she speaks about an enormous amount of, for example, athletes who will actually endure pain in order to achieve their goal. I don't know that I necessarily buy into that. Maybe I'm just not enough of an athlete. But I think what it does come down to is that across all of these authors, what we are seeing is, why am I here? Why is this important? What does this mean to me? What does this mean to me, my identity? And because of that, we can keep going. Therefore, failure actually then never becomes failure. It just becomes a bit of a handbrake moment. But you can always release the handbrake. And by using self-compassion, reframing, adjusting your expectations so that you see what the gain was, and having a growth mindset, you actually consistently can keep going and moving towards that goal that you have in mind. And while doing all of this, it's not just about that one goal. It's about the goal of self-leadership. And I hope that this series has given you a lot of context and tools to work with to improve your own self-leadership, because it's always a bit of a moving target, right? We all constantly have to work at it. I don't know any of us that get there and go, wow, I'm perfect at this. I've loved sharing the series with you, and I hope that I will see you soon again for another episode at the Performance Cafe, where we're going to start our next topic. As always, we will be converting this into a blog, and you will be able to find that at performforward.com. And then I'll see you next time for another coffee at the Performance Cafe.